everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and to our peeps across the pond, good evening. I'm your host, Jason Miles, and welcome to another episode of This is Revolution podcast. I want to apologize for us being a little late. It's my fault. I will take the blame for that. The water has been cut off here in Mexico for me for now 14 hours, and I had to take a very third worldy shower before we started the show. If you are new to the channel, please hit like, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell as we're adding new shows and cross streams constantly. Also, don't forget June 26th, we're going to be live and in person in Brooklyn at Project PARLOR. It's an event. It's an event in conjunction with Sublation Media, where you can read my latest article that goes more in depth than the latest video essay. Welcome to the Dare Dome. Ben Burgess will be there. The homie Norm Finkelstein will be there. And Margaret Kimberly of Black Agenda Report will be there. So if you want to meet me, Pascal, Deep State Cuba, Doug Lane, we're all going to be there. It's free. So there's no excuse for y'all not to show up. Also, Pascal and I were guests yesterday on Pod Damn America. So when you're done here, please go check that out. And for those people that enjoy heavy and experimental music, I was interviewed for I Thought I Heard a Sound blog, and there was an audio interview that I did where we talked about music. He actually did not want to talk about politics. He actually had found the show, or he found the band Bitter Lake through the show, but he only wanted to talk about music, which was fine. I never really get to go off about music too much anymore. So it's a interesting dive, and I definitely have all of the spicy takes, like what is punk, what is selling out, and all that other good stuff. So there is no Pascal today. He's taking the day off. He actually said, we spoke twice last night, and he said he was actually going to write that book review on Elite Capture. So let's see if he was just pulling my leg, if he's really going to do it. But in his place, we have someone that hasn't been on the show much, mainly because of the time difference, because he's back in his homeland. Please welcome everyone's favorite professor in the state of Missouri, me, Jean Bajlan.
Hello, Jason. Hello, chat. It's great to be here. It's great to be back on the show. And I should also add, in addition to my title as professor, I'm now also the managing editor of Sublation magazine. So if you have time, everybody, and you haven't seen it yet, go check out Sublation magazine, www.sublationmag.com.
There should be a link in the description to this show to Sublation magazine if you copied and pasted.
Maybe I need to make sure it's in there, but I'll make sure there is a link to that. But this is where we publish Jason's article, and hopefully we'll have more work from Jason in there because I'm on the writing train, forcing Jason to write, and also Pascal has things. But I'm thinking Jason's going to be producing a lot more these days, especially because I've been enjoying the video essays, and I think some of those video essays need to be also put in in an article form as well, I think. So,
well, I'm glad we're having this discussion on air, because I want everyone to know right now I have two main editors, Jean Bajlan and Touré Reed. So literally, if the time doesn't match, then Touré gets it. So anything you read of mine, it has to go past the eyes of those two tannish gentlemen first. Also, speaking of a tannish gentleman, he's everyone's favorite Jamaican. Marcus of the Left Flank Meds.
I love that Touré and Gene just get lumped in. It's like they're tan. It's just tan dudes. Just a bunch of
there's two tan dudes that
I'm happy because you didn't announce the biggest thing going on in Gene's life.
He's having another baby?
Well, it's possible, but that would be secondary to Platinum Jubilee. That
It's Platty Jubes. Platty Jubes.
So
You said Platty Jubes?
hey,
That's
Tuesday,
what they-
isn't it, bruv?
That's what they call. Jason thinks of Katie Halper when I say that. But no, Platty Jubes is what we have decided to call the Platinum Jubilee today. It was a wonderful event in downtown Hull. Unfortunately, yesterday I missed the flotilla going down the Humber and the Spitfires doing their Spitfire thing. But today we had live music. We had Hull's best club singers singing hits from Tina Turner in the city center. And my 3-year-old, he got down, he got nasty, he was shaking it, he was going. And now he's just relaxing, sitting down, watching Blippi, not original Blippi.
New Blippi, Asian
New
Blippi.
Ever since you told me that, ever since you told me that they swapped out Blippi for a fake Blippi, I'm seeing the fake Blippi, and I'm like,
You sit on the throne of
the white man
lies.
Blippi literally replaced himself with an Asian.
He's totally like, there's something so, first of all, there's something so wrong with Blippi because your children shouldn't be singing about how wonderful the police SWAT team vehicles are.
Oh yeah,
Wait, what?
Blippi was in the military, and Blippi likes SWAT team. He's like,
Blippi
wow,
likes
look at the SWAT team vehicle. It's amazing.
Oh my god!
My son,
All right,
my son
ACAB
called
includes
me.
Blippi.
My son called me the other day, dude, and he had a police, and you know he has police cars and stuff, but I don't care. And he goes, it's a police vehicle. And Blippi has a song, police car, and Blippi's the worst thing if your kids want to watch it because you want to sit next to your child and engage with them in the programming that they're watching, but he is so insufferable that it hurts your soul. And there's a couple of shows, and it's funny because Gene and I's kids are around the same age, so they're going through the same phase of insufferable television. So it's Blippi, and then it's the car wash cartoon.
There's this other one called what is it called? Something the truck, Leo the Truck.
Yeah, horrible.
And Leo the Truck is like a dystopian future where there's like robots, and they all are still doing the work, like farming and building things, but there are no humans. So it's kind of a post-apocalyptic.
They're just still on their own programming, and they don't
Yeah,
stop.
yeah.
Oh my god,
they're
that's
boring
dark.
as shit. And they're so boring.
Crazy.
Like you look at your kid, you're like, look, I hate cars. Because remember, I have children that are grown. So cars now is going through for me, it's like another generation. And I'm like, well, I'd rather watch Cars 1 through 15 than watch any of this.
And that Leo the Truck, but they've turned it into a science. They're like, I saw, what do kids love the most? Dinosaurs and trucks. Mm-hmm. There's a show called Dino Trucks now.
Yeah.
Damn, nailed it.
Dino Trucks.
That's like that was what Transformers did. Transformers had a whole section.
Yeah, they had Dino. They had Dino, the Dino ones, but the CGI animation for the original Dino one was pretty bad. So yeah.
Whatever.
I'm telling you, man,
that changed my life, Gene. That's like I was like so ready. I was like the whole world is gonna look like this within days.
What Dino robots?
But yes,
it's insane. It's like
Beast Wars. That's right.
Beast Wars.
Right.
Yes.
So I try to get my kid to watch old cartoons. And sometimes he will, like every so often I can get him to watch certain things, but I tried to have him watch Super Friends. You remember Super Friends from like the late 70s, early 80s?
Objectively bad though, even as a kid.
It was like, so bad. Yeah, he looked over at me and he shook.
What
like,
the hell is this? No, he watches Danger Mouse. I don't know if you know about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He likes Danger Mouse and Duckula, which is a spin-off TV series. So he likes those ones because they have good songs.
I'm familiar with Bunnicula, but not Duckula. That's a different.
Yeah, Bunnicula has terrified a lot of people of rabbits.
No, Duckula is a vampire duck, played by David Jason, who is also
Vampire.
Danger Mouse, the voice of Danger Mouse.
Oh.
David Jason is a national treasure, although I think he was trending because he revealed a story about the Queen calling an ambassador a gorilla, and everybody in Britain assumed that this was a comment about a black ambassador, but it was actually about a white American ambassador. So the British basically told on themselves, it's like a gorilla joke must be about a black person. How racist.
Well, we were gonna do it. I think we were gonna do it for one of the what do you call it? Trigger warning segments, but with that teacher that had the "what's not a gorilla" thing in the thing, the question for the kids, and one picture was Obama.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Or what's not a monkey or some shit like that. It was some fucked up, like low rent, racist fucking jab. But I was gonna see if it was gonna trigger Pascal. On the trigger warning, it was pretty low. It was pretty low as a Pascal trigger. I think what we were talking about earlier before we went on air would have been the perfect trigger warning segment for Pascal. That would have been hilarious. But let's bring in our guest. Susanna Kleeman is a writer from London who works in digital tech. Her first book, My Rejections, is a short memoir of hubris, humiliation, and triumph against the odds. Her first novel, Twice, is out on Zero Books, and that is where I first saw Susanna, was on Zero Books. And I was saying this off air, and I want to say it on air. I remember seeing her. She did this like really cool like solo thing, and she had this black backdrop. And I remember hitting up Doug. I was like, Doug, I don't know who this woman is on your channel, but this is like a really cool video thing she did. This is neat. You need to have her on more. And he was like, oh, you know how Doug talks, like, oh, she doesn't like being on camera. I was like, really? Because she's so good at it. So I didn't know who she was at first when Jean pitched out the name. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then when I saw the picture, I was like, oh, it's the lady from the black backdrop video. Yeah. Yes, please, let's get her on. Yes. So please welcome Susanna Kleeman.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. Reading your piece in Sublation. It's titled, Is Marxism a Male Safe Space?
Mm-hmm.
First off, that title.
Mm-hmm.
Did you come up with the title?
Yes, I came. In fact, my title was Marxism, a Male Safe Space. Jeans obviously doesn't like colons, and he's moved it around. Yeah, but
I'm very heterosexual. That's why.
And do you ask me that because you like that title, or you think that's some kind of tabloid stuff that Jeans put on it?
Jean does it to me too. He does it to me too. I want to read a quote from your piece. Early on your piece, you say, women aren't always represented or interested because consciously or unconsciously, they sense Western philosophy and political theory were set up as defense systems against them, a set of distractions and abstract wannabe weapons developed as the vanguard of a larger protection racket devised by men to try to control their uncontrollable vulnerability to woman's allure in physical and emotional realms. So, is this why I can't get any Tinder matches?
Yes, well, I totally believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have written it. And but let me tell you that I got my education in all of this from a man. That man would be Jean Baudrillard. I was, like everybody else, bumbling around, not understanding the stuff about men and women, not understanding a lot of stuff about the world. And then by chance, I started to read some Jean Baudrillard when I was in my 30s. Blew my mind. I don't know if you've read any. And helpfully, he mansplained everything to me. And after I read that, I understood everything in my life was transformed. I have to tell you that. But what he showed me was that I had been a very polite, eager soldier in a sort of trying to be equal, trying to be, not some kind of just silly woman and try and get in there and really understand. And what he showed me is that far from the place that I had come from, which was thinking that women were in some way inferior than men, or women had been put down by men, which of course women have suffered a lot at the hands of men. What he showed me, the light bulb that went off in my head, is women have all the power. What he said is the equality moment that we're in is a false equality moment, which is trying to say that everybody is equally different. So you're a little bit like this, I'm a little bit like that. We all slot into this ice cube tray, which is his word that was taken and was used by the makers of the film is the Matrix. So, the movie The Matrix is based a lot on the thought of Jean Baudrillard. And what he says is the Matrix is putting us all into the Matrix is an act of violence and control. And within the Matrix, we're all supposedly equally different. But what he said about men and women, and not just about men and women, but we're talking about that aspect of it here. What he said is men and women are asymmetrically different. There is a vast difference between men and women. The vast difference is that men are, and here I'm talking in big generalities, and it's not all men, and it's not everybody. What I'm talking about here is heterosexual male-female attraction. Men are much more into the immediate visual appearance of women than women are to men. It's a different thing. And that gives women a tremendous advantage over men, has given women a tremendous advantage over men. Men can be weak-kneed by women in a way that women just can't be with men. And men have therefore constructed society as a defense against that.
So I should be getting more matches on Tinder is what you're telling me, but I'm fucking up.
On Tinder, meager gruel. I really would say meager gruel. I'm so sorry that it's come down to Tinder for everybody.
Well, Bumble is more my thing because I feel like Tinder's for the young people and I'm old.
But what about me? For me, all of this is so. I should say I am married. It's been a long time. I did a small bit of internet dating some time ago. I found it bad, but that was very much in the infancy of all this. But even so, internet dating, it's like going to Walmart, going to the supermarket, and just buying something off the shelves. That is my feeling about what internet dating.
For you, it's like that.
Yeah, but you say there's a big difference, right? There's a big.
So huge. Like, look, the asymmetricalness of the symmetry.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to just swipe and pick. It's almost like I'm at the food bank. So you're at Walmart. I'm at the food bank and I'm way in the back of the line. So when I get up there, they're like, we have old cabbage or a mildly bruised tomato.
You say that. You're running your great big popular YouTube channel. Surely you've got all the people on YouTube flocking here. What you need to do?
Hey, hold on. Look, you know what? I'm going to do this because I need you guys off the screen. Because look, we need to talk. First of all, face to face, because you need to understand something for a second here. Okay. This is a leftist YouTube show.
So what?
With 95% angry men that watch it.
Okay,
the odds of me having a young lady watch this show and then send me a message saying, "Hey, what are you doing later?" are extremely slim.
Has it never happened to you? It's never ever happened to you.
You want to know the truth?
Yes, of course I want to know the truth. That's the only interesting thing.
There was a bit of a stalker for a minute, and it wasn't.
Well, there you go. You got stalked.
It wasn't good though. It was very negative.
Okay, but if you're in the position of having stalkers, then don't tell me you're cleaning cabbage off the pavement.
I'm cleaning cabbage off the pavement here. It's cabbage and pavement.
Okay, but anyway, even for me anyway. I mean, I see we're going immediately into the internet dating. Oh,
no. I want to roll back because I want to roll back and before we jump into a serious dissection of Jason's Tinder.
He's run away. He's got all upset.
He's probably on his Tinder right now. The question I have is, can you elaborate then why you think Marxism specifically, or is it all philosophy, all abstract philosophy? Because it's why you think it's male safe space specifically? And
I will tell you. Okay, I'll tell you about all my personal theories on all philosophy, abstract philosophy, and then I'll tell you why Marxism in particular. So what I think is, as somebody, what I think is that there's what abstract philosophy seems to be is to reduce the world down to logic, cause and effect, maths. Okay, what it seems to be is we can, if we think clearly enough, we can arrange the world. We can write it all down. We can say blah blah, cause and effect. This happens. This happens. This. We can understand the whole world. And for me, that's an insane belief. Because the world, in my experience of the world, is not like that. The world is an infinitely stranger place than something that can be extracted from lived reality, written down in maths, as it were, and extrapolated. And as I said in my article, even science, especially science, which all about unemotional, rigorous cause and effect. What's the highest place that science has got us to? Something where there's a quantum physics that doesn't match up to huge physics, where when you look at light and at particles, they change depending on who's looking at what. The quantum physics not matching up to the Newtonian physics just shows me that the world is much stranger than anything that we can comprehend. So the very idea that you can make a system for lived humans to live in and be governed by, or to rule by, that where it can all be written down and everything can be understood, is just madness to me. But what I see is it comes from a desire to control things. It comes from a place of being very out of control because of asymmetric attraction to women, because of the world being a freaky and mysterious place, because of all sorts of things that we can't understand because our brains are too small about the cosmic setup that we're in, out of all sorts of fear. Therefore, cling on to and create this space. And what I have seen about this space is, it's generally speaking, the people who've done it are men. And generally speaking, the people who do it still are men. And what it is it's a space where you just say, well, we don't have any space for woolly thinking. All the stuff that women or other people might be interested in, which is, for example, I don't know, stuff that when I begin to talk about this with men, often what they say to me is, oh, you're going to some mystic space. And what I say to them is, this space that you're in is much more mystic, where you think that everything can be controlled and written down, and therefore the world can be done. So anything that's about abstract philosophy, and particularly abstract philosophy that's then applied to how we should all live, and there's only one way of doing it, is just laughable and mad to me. But I understand that it is like doing a crossword puzzle. It is a distraction activity. It is a game with rules that other men can appreciate what you're up to in it, and that you can study each other and see how well you're doing it. I understand that. As for Marxism, the reason that I particularly, because of my association with Doug, first with Zero Books, with what you're all doing at Sublation, I came into this. I'm a novelist. That's what I wanted to do. But in having my book published by Zero and Doug, I became exposed to this world, and in many ways a very fascinating world, but also in many ways an utterly hilarious world of really sort of, of Marxist men talking about Marxism. And what made me, I don't mean to be cruel, but what made me laugh in particular about this world is, again, because I've read Jean Baudrillard, and what he says is everything is a simulation now. Everything is cosplay, including philosophy, right? Including Marxism. But Marxism, you can't dismiss it as you could other sorts of philosophy, because saying it's entirely abstract, or because it's all about action. Marxism is the one thing, perhaps. This guy, he sits in the British Museum, he writes his texts. There's a Russian Revolution based on his books. There's a Chinese Revolution based on his books. So it gives the illusion, it seems to me, I'm sorry, I'm being harsh here. It says, like, look, in the past, this guy was so clever that he wrote it all down. Other people did what he said. These things happen. So it really seems to me to bolster a particular kind of activity and thinker who says, look, I'm real. I'm actually doing this stuff. I'm not just making it up. I'm not just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, having my YouTube shows. No offense. Very interesting to chat about things. We're not just all here to chat. This is about real stuff. People did real stuff with it. So it seems that it promotes a real machismo, not from all the practitioners of it, but often what I see online is a lot of very macho posturing about, I'm so materialistic, this, that, and the other. I'm so materialistic that I'm telling you my thoughts on this very ephemeral, unmaterialistic platform that is social media. So I hope that answers your question there, Jim.
Do you think, so you're saying, I think there's a lot to be said about, there's a lot to unpack with what you've said there about, for example, the kind of cosplay aspect of a lot of philosophy discussion. When you were talking about that, I was thinking, libertarians, like libertarian philosophy is like the perfect simulacra of a philosophy. It's an absolute fucking nonsense, but it seems like philosophy. Of course, that's Ayn Rand, who as far as I understand, is a woman. But you present this in a gendered perspective.
Yes.
Do you and from what I understand, the gender perspective you're presenting is that this is like a fundamental, essential difference between men and women based on this asymmetry.
No, I don't think it's a fundamental. I don't think it is a genetic difference between men and women that men enjoy talking about Marxism on YouTube. No, I certainly don't think that.
Okay.
But what I do think is that certain biological, just body differences between men and women have over millennia led to certain things being established of different ways that men and women approach the world. Sometimes, not always, because of different experiences, because of different sorts of hormones and rushes that come through you, because of different life experiences. So, for example, women are born, whether or not they always do this, but women who know their women are born knowing that it might be possible for them to have kids one day. And, just to talk in a very generalized way. Therefore, whether or not you have kids, there's always the possibility of you doing something that would bring fulfillment. It doesn't always bring fulfillment to have kids, but there is a destiny for you if you want it. Whereas I feel for men because I sometimes feel that they're kind of at sea. What are they there for? Of course, they're there to care for their kids, but it's a different thing to actually bearing the kid in your body, having that connection there. So I think that sometimes, not always, but my feeling is sometimes, as in bee colonies, where the women bees are doing something and the drones come, fertilize the queen, and then kind of do nothing very much. I'm by no means saying that human men are like drones with the queen bee, etc. But I'm saying sometimes for men there must be a sense of vacancy, not really being 100% sure what, and also being very vulnerable to women. Really, especially as teenagers, really, from my understanding of it, falling for women, wanting comfort from women, not knowing where to go with that, feeling very physically vulnerable to women, and then feeling very at sea if those things are not reciprocated. And of course, therefore, the sense of being completely out of control and purposeless, you look for places, a way of dealing with it would be to look for places where you can have control. And the realm of abstract thought is definitely one of those places. And it's definitely policed by men. Look at me, I'm pretty abstract thoughter myself. Okay, I'm pretty analytical. And I certainly spent my teenage and early adult years in having a lot of confusion because thinking, I'm eligible to join this party. I can have these debates and discussions and feeling, and I don't think I was unique in this. I think a lot of women who are analytical like me, feeling a bit fenced out of those conversations. And you begin by feeling, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough. And then after a while, you understand, no, this is a patrolled zone. It's important for men. What I've come to understand, I've got a lot of compassion for men. Again, I'm talking in very general ways here, but coming to understand, they've got to have something, basically. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. They've got to have something. It's got to be that they have something. And maybe the thing that they have is abstract thought. And maybe it's been really important for them to say, our brains are better than yours, our brains are better than yours, we're not letting you in here, you can't do it to the high level that we can. And so after a while, I think, okay, fine, have it.
So I guess the question is maybe oversimplifying things is that and I don't know if I'm doing. I don't know if they're doing that. I'm going to do some Marxist analysis to mirror to understand the material world. But is it the conditions, or at least that is it essentially just just describing misogyny within an academic field that drives?
No, something. I'm not describing misogyny within an academic field. I hope I'm not. I hope what I'm saying is that that why would I want to join that academic field in the first place? I hope what I'm saying is something that is more epic than that. I'm not saying I'd like to get in there and be a philosopher. What I'm saying is that these things are built, and I would say, and I said in my article, I feel that capitalism, for example, is a sex crime at root. I think that the very systems that we're in come from a very deeper and more basic place, which is defense against the mess of biology, defense against women, attempts to have control over things. And I'm not saying that I have been misogynistically barred from these realms, but I'm saying that there is a thought process that men have done, which is about abstraction, about cutting it off from anything that's, the very idea of discussing, for example, going into nature, feelings you can get, reducing it all down to the one sphere is something that men have done. And it's not misogyny. I'm really trying to say to you, it's not misogyny. I don't dislike men, and I don't think men are worse than women or women are better than men. That's not at all where I'm coming from. That's not at all where I'm coming from. I think we are all prisoners of our cosmic situation and our biology, and that leads to lots of confusions between us.
But do you not think that, specifically when it comes to, let's say, our perceptions of the field of abstract philosophy,
Yeah.
The points that you're raising about the exclusion of women, could not those arguments be deployed in a similar way to, it's not simply they're excluding women, but also non-white people? I'll give you a concrete, article example. There was a conference which I participated in a while ago, in which there was presentations on the racism in Kant and his thought. And, there were a lot of triggered white men, not every white man, but there's definitely, I would say the arguments that you're deploying, you could make the same arguments that this has been deployed by a particular historically constituted community of white men in Western Europe to not only exclude women, but also the what they see as the disorganized masses of Asia and Africa, the irrational civilizations. So you could counterpose this is not even about this is not about men, but this is specifically about Western bourgeois society and its desire to create others, which of course includes women who are otherized in a very concrete way, and also non-Western Europeans who, instead of seeing bourgeois society as the product of a particular mode of production, the Japanese managed to do it in the end, but something which is essential to their national or racial spirit.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about I agree. I think there are some refinements, but I agree. It's about people who want to be the subject and they want to have objects that they control. And it's about who says that they're and the subject in what we're talking about here has been rich white men. And it's pathological sometimes. It seems to be pathological. They have to be the subject. They are the ones who control others, and they control objects. And the objects they control are not just things, but they're also people too. And it comes from thinking you're the one who's neutral. You're the one whose brain is so very educated that it's in tune with the laws of the universe. And people who cannot see these things are objects. And but again, from what from the reading of Baudrillard that I've done, it's so fascinating. I'll go back and talk about why I think there's something slightly different with women in a moment. But what he says is, and I think that it's totally true, is that white men these days are so burdened with having been the subject, because it's an impossible thing. Because to be this kind of pure thing that actually abstractly understands the world is an impossible responsibility, because you're never going to do it. And in fact, what Baudrillard says is that what all straight white men, Western straight white men, really want is to be penetrated. So he says that they've had a fetish. Their fetish is that they are the ones who penetrate other people. And that's physically with women, or else emotionally dominating. They are never penetrated in any way whatsoever. They're the one who do things to other people, not have done by. But he says their secret deep desire is to be done, because he says the responsibility for it is too much for them. And that is their chaotic place that he says rich white Western men are in right now.
So despite their protestations of not wanting to be penetrated, their deep desire is to be penetrated. So it's like when Dr. Umar says that there should be no interracial dating, but actually he has a weakness for, I believe it is called a snow bunny. Is that correct, Jason? Or
I thought it was called a pog.
A pog.
Interchangeable.
No, they're not interchangeable, Marcus.
I think you could use those two terms for the same.
Can you outline the difference between a pogue and a? Is it like a Venn diagram, or are they two separate categories?
They are two totally separate categories. Totally separate categories.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay. A pog is a whole different. That is the weakness of the hotep.
Is that like would you classify, for example, just so I have is Meghan McCain a Pogue?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
What about
she's-
Meghan Markle?
What about Meghan Markle? No, she's
Meghan Markle. Well,
I don't think
she's
so,
no,
no.
she's
No,
not. She's what would you call Meghan Markle, Marcus?
Well, she's mixed, isn't she? So like
Yeah,
she's
she's
kind of
mixed.
just out of she's just out of the
So
routing.
Gene says Pogue.
Yeah.
Pogue is a band from the 80s. A
Yes, sir.
Pog is not. I will type in our secret chat what a Pog is, Susanna,
Okay.
because
what is
I'm
a
not
Pog?
going to say on air
I was like,
because
say
this
it.
show, look, this show already has enough people triggered. So I'm not going to do even more triggering because people say some horrible things about me on the internet. But I will send you a private message on our chat and show if you know what what a Pog and a Pogue is.
I'm sorry. I'm not very up on the terminologies, but I think because why then is the difference? Let's move away from the Pogues and the thing. What is the difference between the hostility of, let's say, elite white bourgeois philosopher guys? What's the difference between the hostility towards non-Europeans and towards women? I mean, your point is that there's a categorical difference between that kind of hostility that they have.
I think that, and here I'm just talking large, I'm saying whatever comes to my mind. And thank you for having me on your show to just talk stuff. But what I think is, it is easier for a white man, a rich white man, to allow the brain of a black man or a non-white man into their space than it is for them to allow the category of women into their space, because the category of women has a different brain for those people, because the category of women has a power over them just physically with the body that perhaps the category of other non-white man does not have. So something else something else that this reducing the world down to the abstract level of philosophy does is it says this is the only thing, but this is not the only thing, because we're all having this chat now, but there are other registers that you can experience the world, and we're having a very sort of intellectual, one could even say dry chat here, but it is also possible we can relate to each other as humans, just as neutral humans, and the argument that we're having. But it's also possible that if we were meeting in the real world, we would have different effects on each other. It would have nothing to do with our brains and all the words that are coming out of their mouth. It would just be about our body's physical reactions to each other. And I think that for white men, women are more threatening. I will say that. I think that to some degree, in some regions, women are more threatening because they cannot control what their own body might do if they are heterosexual in that. That's what I think.
Well, I need to say this is not a dry discussion. This is at the very least a moist discussion. But
it's obviously not a dry discussion at all.
But I think
we're all being very polite and prim here. But if we were all in the real world without our clothes on, there would also be different power balances that would happen here, aren't there? That there are, and it wouldn't be about who is speaking the best and who the most logical. There are different registers of experience. This is exactly the point that I'm saying. If you're frightened of those different registers of experience, then why not bring it all back down to the abstract level where you can control things?
I mean, I think that raises a really important point. In a sense, racial and ethnic difference it's not random, but it's really arbitrary. It's like which groups are on top. Humans are humans. What color they are. How tall they are, and all those terminologies are that's just historically constituted. But there is a more fundamental sexual. What's happened to the guys?
I don't know.
I think they've been.
Well, someone's asking if I like pogs, and there's people talking about they don't want to be penetrated and shit. Like chat, focus, chat. We need you to get back on the train, okay?
So, but you would argue then, more than any other so-called identity group, there is a fundamental material difference between men and women that has this you know,
Yeah, there is a material difference. You've got different body parts to me. You've got different body parts to me. And when, it doesn't matter how intellectual you are, you're, you know, remove me from the equation. You know, but what I'm saying is your body part's going to do stuff when you see, if you're heterosexual, when you see somebody else's body that isn't the same body as your body part, right? That's what's going to happen. Yeah. Whereas amongst you men, you all got the same body parts, right? It's going to, there's less that's going down there.
Well, I don't know if Jason and Gene got some of it. No, I'm just playing. I have a question though about how do.
Heteronormative.
Yeah. I'm just playing around. Yes.
And so what I'm saying is very heteronormative. Sorry.
I do have a question though of that. You know, if you like seeing these spaces like this, and I'm going to take this, you know, out as a black dude to say, you know, we're talking about, you know, a lot of just focusing on kind of like the viewpoint from white men. How do you envision, right, spaces, you know, or like, I guess too, is like Marxist spaces that are, you know, not, I guess, separating or trying to, or at least like just, I guess, built in a way that is, you know, against,
I'm not, the argument I'm giving here is not an argument about inclusion. I have to say to you, it's not an argument about inclusion. I will, you know, obviously there are things I could say in that, which I'll say it's off-putting to have tremendous, to see that the place of Marxist discourse, if it's not the university, which it isn't to most of us, if the entry space of Marxist discourse is online, is on Twitter, is perhaps on YouTube. Well, Twitter is the worst place because everything is so short in it. But to see that what goes on is a lot of posturing. What goes on is a lot of who's read this text? You didn't read this. Why didn't you do? Everyone playing teacher's pet. It's like, yeah, who cares? Nobody cares about that. You know, or only you care about it amongst yourself in your private club. You know, if it's really about making a debate, so Sublation Magazine, it's a good place because you can write stuff. It's not about, oh, you said this, you said that, why did you do that? No. You know, it's not about that. It's about writing something and reading it and thinking about it and absorbing it. So for me, even though the bit I'm least interested in is the bit about inclusion, to make it more interesting for people, to spread the message more widely, people got to stop preening, primping, slagging each other off. Nobody cares about that.
Isn't that like a Twitter problem though with everything? Like all kinds of. So yeah, I think your point is fairly taken about online media. I think there is a lot of posturing on online media for entertainment value as well. People like drama, right? People don't want to sit there and, you know, listen to like a friendly exchange and a thoughtful discussion. They want blood sports.
But they want blood. I tell you what people want. People want, number one, what they want is truth. Okay, and when they can't get truth, they'll take blood sports. And so the prime thing I would say is that, you know, what I'm saying may be heretical here, but a sense I get about Marxism, again, because I've read Baudrillard, and again, in my essay, I quoted the very interesting thing he said, which he said, you know, there has already been a revolution. It's not a communist revolution. It's not a bourgeois revolution. It's just a revolution. And what it is a revolution of machines. That we live in a completely changed world, that we're not taking we're not really debating what the actual issues are. What the actual issues are is that we live in a world that is controlled by machines, not matrix style, but just because computers make the choices for us, algorithms, everything is presented to us through interfaces. We sit in our rooms, we experience the world through our screens, and furthermore, we experience everything through very pretty pictures. So the other thing that I'm very interested in is how everything is reduced. You know, the majority of computer programmers who have built this world have been men. And the world that they've built is a world that is built on male triggers, which are often beautiful images, right? And therefore, what I sense as a woman in all of this is that that male visual desire has been harnessed by these machines, and as the driver for capitalism with these machines to make us buy stuff, spend our time and energy in these beautiful places. And I feel almost as though I am being forced to see the world through the eyes of male desire. And so for me, when you're saying how should Marxism whatever be more inclusive, I would like to see a wider range of topics debated. For me, the things have moved on. It's not quite about, it's about imprisonment by images now. It's about how it's rewired all of us and what it's done to us. I'd like to see those issues debated a bit. I'd like to see it's instead of moving on from what might be old debates, I would like to talk about some new sorts of debates, which are, to me, about the dangers of extreme aestheticism of the world.
Well, on that point, since we're talking about Baudrillard, one of the key concepts he has is the simulacra.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that concept kind of drives in to what you're talking about and the kind of debates that would, the debates that you would like to see?
Yes, I definitely can. So he says, his famous book, which is represented in The Matrix, which is Neo opens a copy of, is his book's called Simulacra and Simulation. And what he says is that we live in a world which is an unreal, hyperreal world. We live in a place where there are objects much more, everything has been made much more beautiful than reality. So that's what hyperreality is. Beautiful images, beautiful pictures, Instagram, everything is much more beautiful. And we're lost and addicted to this false world. But that's not everything about what simulacra is. You all seem to have gone away. We've become very small. What he also says about simulacra, which is to me the most interesting and important part of it, is that in the old days, we knew that there were many worlds and many registers of the world. Yes, there's the church, there's the state, they were really oppressive. But you could also just go behind the hay bales and step out of those spaces and have other worlds and other experiences that were never recorded, where you might, we tend to think sometimes, for example, in the past, nobody had sex outside marriage. Obviously, that's just not true. It's just unrecorded. There was secret parts you could experience the world. You could step back from the world. And what he says about our hyperreal digital world is we're told that there's only one world. We're told that this is the one space, that who we are in these spaces is who we are, that the capacity to step back, be someone else, have secret worlds, do even illegal stuff has gone away. And we're all being reduced down into this one world that we sit in, which is this hyperreal world, which is a cheap world made of images, where before you might want to have, you might want to have a beautiful house. And now you can be satisfied with looking at pictures of other people's beautiful houses that can give you a little bit of the same buzz that you might have had from the dreams and desires you had before. And therefore we're just being sated with half-life, basically.
Like when my son, instead of playing with his truck, watches Blippi play with a truck. Exactly.
And my son, lost in video games, which is already a world of simulation, no longer doesn't even want to watch the video games. We want to watch people watching the video games. We want to watch people watching people watch people while we all sit there getting really large, right?
And that's even like tying into something like especially like on like Twitch and like online media, like the debate bros, like at these debates, it's like you got people watching the debate, then you have like the people review the debate, and then people like reviewing the review of it, and like
and the
just
debate,
like you're reliving the same thing over and
the
over
debate itself is a simulacra, because rarely is it anybody who knows anything about the topic that they're debating. It's just some streamers debating with some talking points that they got from someone else for the entertainment of people who will later recycle. I mean, this is my biggest issue with
Gene,
left media.
I click on all of the links at the bottom of the Wikipedia. Okay, every one of them. I make sure that they are still working links, and then I go forward with my argument.
I think that's it was so. The problem with left media is often that it is, I guess, the simulacra, right? It's an appearance of a political discussion, but it's not actually an education or political.
Or it's just a discussion about a discussion about a discussion. In the past, in the 19th century, they were having a discussion because they're going to go and do something. So what's going to be done? Nothing's going to be done. Nothing's going to be done.
I call it the feedback loop of futility.
In a way, something is being done, things are being debated, you're introducing ideas to people who might not have those ideas before, but it's just a kind of talking place. And meanwhile, our lives are more and more and more and more reduced, while we're sitting there with more and more technology to talk about all of this sort of stuff. So that is what I would like to have more discussed, more addressed
Well, Jason talks about that quite a bit, actually.
Well,
So
and Jean, you said to me when we met, you said, "Have you been watching This Is Revolution?" I had to confess, I haven't watched it very much, but obviously, now that I'm a guest here, I'm going to be a regular watcher. I'm going to get educated. So I'm pleased.
Well, that was one of the things. That was one of the things that I talk about because, you know, if I do meet people out in the real world, they'll ask what I do, and I tell them, and then I'll meet people that say things like, I don't watch mainstream news. I only watch, you know, these people. And I'm like, well, those are just people that literally watch mainstream news and then critique it. So why don't you just watch the news and have your own critique? Like, you seem to be a smart individual. You can make these decisions for yourself.
But it's also so hard. We're all so lost in a deluge of so much information. You know, we don't know what to think. And also, we used to be able to trust film. We can't, you know, is it real? Is any of, you know, it's very hard to stand up and have a voice, you know. And that's why I said to you that what people want most is truth. And then if they can't have that, they will have blood sports. You know, what I want to see is truth. I want to see people talking in all their confusion and vulnerability without being scared that they're going to be hit back. Oh, you said this on Thursday. Now you're saying that. You said this. You know, what I want people is to have the freedom that I have given myself for no good reason, you know, because I sit here in my privilege to just say whatever I feel like and speak what I feel like without fear of repercussion. I have that because of my privilege. I have that because of my age also, you know. I am not so scared of stuff, but that's what I want for people. That's, to me, the pleasure and joy in life is just speaking your mind without fear of repercussion. You know, I
think this comes down to this whole discussion about, you know, cancel culture, and I don't like the term because people have always been canceled. It's you know, they canceled that guy who broke the German codes in the Second World War because he was gay, and you know, people have always been excluded from the public sphere. But I think the sensorious nature of discussion and the way that you have to present as an online personality, inverted commas, you can never have a moment of weakness, right?
But you have to. But you know something, you absolutely can. You know, we talk about.
I mean, but there's a culture.
Okay, but you can do what the F you want. You know, what I think is that most people don't understand that. You know, if we talk about this, it sounds like these are the rules for YouTube laid out over the last 200 years. People just made up this stuff now. You know, what holds people back is the fear. You know, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, I think
in
that's
my
like
age, that's the place that I've come to, and I must say it's a very liberating and wonderful and wonderful thing in place. I would like to see more of that. It's only each other's peers holding you back from doing that. You can say and do whatever you want, and the absolute reality is the people who are the most interesting, who get the most views, who are the people who are most authentic, right? Who are actually saying something from their heart, even if it's stupid. Look at Joe Rogan. You know what I mean?
I think he's a perfect example.
But
and that's I think
what he's done is he has granted himself the freedom to speak his mind. That's what he's done. And he doesn't care. And that's an attractive thing. You may not like what he's saying, but we should all, you know, there should be less, we should be able to make stupid mistakes and say any old shit, you know, that because it goes back to what I'm saying before, because there is no abstract, correct, right or wrong. You know, we hold ourselves up to these abstract spaces. There's one answer, the world should be ruled in this one. No, I just don't think that's true. And I think that the perfectionist desire to get everything right is really limiting.
Well, do you think that we're scared to be, like, I feel this way sometimes. I can't speak for everybody else. Like, you're scared to be wrong?
Yes, I think there is. This is the terrible sensorious culture. Even within Marxist discourse, you're all scared to be wrong. You know, get away with that. Get away with that. Be wrong. The joy has been being wrong. That's been my experience in life.
I mean, I think it's like like nailing it, because, and the thing is too is that even with you get with like these independent, you know, everyone ends up chasing the same success storyline or success line, you know, that's algorithm based, you know, until you end up like, well, this is what I got to do, and like, yeah, get into argument, posture on some ridiculous fucking belief, and then, you know, double down, never apologize, never say you're wrong.
You can feel everyone's sitting there with their bingo card. I'm not sure if you in the States are familiar with bingo. Is there bingo in the US?
Oh,
There's hella
hell,
bingo here.
hell yes, there's
There's hella
fucking
bingo.
bingo.
The blood sport is sitting there. Someone's coming here. Someone's saying something. Let me sit here with my bingo scorecard. Oh, they said this. Oh, they said this. Oh, they said this.
Yep.
But you know,
That's kind of like a weird and interesting thing now. Like, I don't know if like we want to get into that, but like, and not that the dog piling, right? I almost said canceling. That's not, it's reserved for Norm. But like this kind of dog piling thing where it's like, yeah, you check on the bingo card of like, oh, this person called this person a dick, and that's, body shaming, and wow, like they go on and on and on. And this person that I used to like a day ago is now the worst person in the world. Let me, and like all of these things over and over and over again, where it's like
people are going to do that kind of stuff. But the question is, do you care? And the answer is no, you shouldn't.
Don't care. I love it.
Yeah, don't care. If you've got something to say, you say it. It doesn't matter. Who cares about any of that stuff? Who cares?
People may not be able to tell authenticity very well. Who is being authentic and who's been not. But people do crave the authenticity. I think.
But what happens? But Gene, well, let me ask this question: what happens when authenticity just becomes the idea that someone is edgy? So you don't even have to be right. You don't have to be intelligent. You can just say mean shit, and then people think you're edgy and you're authentic, right? POC is a sellout. Okay.
But that's
I was thinking the same thing, Jason. Yeah. Jimmy Dore is the perfect example. I think his popularity stems not from any message that he gives, but from the fact that he comes across as authentic and angry, and people enjoy that, right? And women are very often disadvantaged in this field because they're seen as being inauthentic. Like people were going off like in the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, they're like, Amber Heard is inauthentic. It's like, well, and Johnny Depp is authentic. It's like the dude's wearing sunglasses inside.
He's literally an actor.
Not his hair.
He's literally an actor. It's like, I don't care about those things, but
right?
I don't care about them. But it's just very interesting about how authenticity is perceived in the public, and women are always being portrayed as being less authentic or being a snake. We see it with like like people get mad at Brianna Joy Gray for being inauthentic. Oh, hi, Zal.
Well, there you go. Your son does not like Brianna Joy Gray. I think he's racist.
People see her as being inauthentic, and it's like, why is she less authentic than anybody else who does media? What is it about her that makes her less authentic? Like, maybe you agree with her or not.
This is my
for me.
thing.
It's the Harvard degree. No,
this is my thing. Everyone likes to call people grifters, which means that they believe that there's a constant string pulling, and that means that everything you see is the Matrix. And I'm like, why can't these people just operate in a world where they're trying to get notoriety, they're trying to keep up a certain level of views, right? It's just the job that they have. They're in the media, the online media space. I don't think these people are con artists that are trying to separate money from your hand, because most of the content they put out is free. So the idea that everyone you don't like is some sort of con man.
Well, but that reflects back the place that we're all in, where we feel, even if we haven't expressed it to ourselves clearly enough, that we're in an inauthentic world. So that one of the worst slurs you can give people is you're inauthentic, because we all feel confused and that there is something inauthentic going on, because there is something inauthentic going on.
I want people to stop for a second calling people con men for 1 second. But because when real con,
why do you care? Why? It doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter. But it matters to me in this way. No, fuck that. I'll say that it matters to me in this way, because it makes me sad that when real discussions are trying to come to be, they can't happen because everyone assumes that everyone's a con artist.
But not everyone
It's like,
does.
why is everyone a
But not
fucking
everyone
con
does.
artist?
And I really think the amount of energy, I mean, obviously I have no platform, and you must have a very different experience, and you're in a milieu that I'm not in. So I don't know what the pressures of that actually feel like. But in my innocence, what I would say is the time that one spends concerned about those sorts of things is much better spent saying people are going to do what people are going to do. What I'm going to say is something true and interesting, and inevitably, I just know that it's true. That if you say something true and interesting to people, it's always going to be haters going to say hate, as they say. But there's always going to be people who follow you when you're saying something true, interesting, good. Use your focus on, that's to spend your focus on. All this other stuff is just housekeeping. Seriously.
But I do think there is a concrete point there, at least in the sense that the calling, it's almost as if people can't believe that there are actual ideological differences in the world, and people have different ideologies and worldviews, and instead differences in ideology and worldview have to be down to the fact that if they don't agree with you, they're trying to separate you for your money, or they're doing something inauthentic. And I think in a general sense, I agree, Susanna. It's that there is like a profound alienation with politics, and people are profoundly cynical. And I think we're going into a very cynical age at the moment. The projects, at least on the left, the projects of Corbynism in Britain and Bernie Sanders in the United States have failed, and we have to cope with that failure. And I think we just turn in on ourselves, because one of the things people liked about Sanders and Corbyn, who are not conventionally charismatic people, was a sense that, oh, these are like authentic people who, for especially Sanders, had this kind of authentic appeal that was that the mainstream media was like, why do people like this grumpy old Jewish man? So why do all these young people, why don't they like Pete Buttigieg and instead like this grumpy old man? And part of it was ideological. Part of it was because, like, also he seemed pretty authentic, both in his presentation and both in the fact that he kind of had the same politics for so long. And someone like Pete Buttigieg is just like,
I think the popularity is 100% because of Bernie Sanders as a genuine individual. And this is something that, like, with my past work, like, it's kind of like frustrating of like understanding of like the saying that's like, oh, like the Democratic Party is just a controlled opposition, which is, I could agree that, like that party is seemingly it's like acting in a way that could be described, like they're just being controlled, but like that's not actually true, and working in, as a staffer in the past, like, yeah, the people who have their hesitations about policies like Medicare for all, like, while I think they are incorrect, like they're just, going to the numbers, they're just wrong about the expensiveness and all of these things, but they come from a genuine place of worry that some person's health savings account might be harmed in the transition, and that person is more, that person is needs is held higher than like the people who don't have health care at all. That doesn't make this person, they didn't like, like that person is not necessarily evil. It's they're understanding. And there's no controlled opposition, more of just like a series of things that have been put in their face and understandings of life. And then here we are. So it's not to say, yeah, like to Jason's point, it's like there's not millions of people look in the mirror and say, I know that socialism is the way. I know that everybody should have housing and healthcare and food, but I'm going to go out and talk about fake scarcity and reforms that aren't going to do anything and all that type of shit, which is
like,
just
I refuse to,
works.
like, people get to the point where they think when you say everyone's a con man / grifter, then you're starting to believe that everyone thinks like you.
Yeah.
And it's just a con. It's like, no, people can be wrong. They can have different opinions and they can be stupid.
But it's also, I tell you, well, I wish people were more ambiguous. You know, I think that what you say is right about Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders. The appeal is that they're kind of shambolic, but the same veneration is therefore applied to them as people might do to Trump. Oh, everything they say is perfect. And I wish that there was a space where you have political leaders where we and be proposing political systems where we'd say, look, it's flawed, but, and that seems on both sides, people are unable to do that. Everything has to be mine is perfect. No, mine is perfect. No, mine is perfect. There's no perfection. And I wish that there was more room for ambiguity without people that, once more, to go back to what we talked about before, being scared of people taking shots at them for, you know, it's hard to say my guy is perfect, but, you know.
Well, people want a savior as well. You know, I think a lot of this comes down to people feel powerless, and so they place their hopes on a kind of savior personality. For the right wing, that was Donald Trump. He was the magical man who could do whatever he wanted. But for the left, I think there was a lot of, you know, a lot of people were thinking that Sanders or Corbyn, they're going to be our route out of this seemingly perpetual, inauthentic, and terrible crisis where nothing really matters. Politics means nothing.
Yeah, you know, medieval and earlier. You know, that to me is the mindset that needs to be talked to. There's no perfect solution, you know, and you know, to go back to even that holy of holies, Mr. Marxism. It's not a perfect solution. There isn't a perfect solution, and nobody is perfect.
And that's something that, like, you know, and correct me if, you know, I'm just like expounding, but it's like my understanding, you know, of Marxism, or at least like when people ask me and I'm just describing like how I, you know, view it, it's always something that's very fluid, you know. There's like some helpful tips to help try and, like, you know, figure out what the fuck is going on in the world.
Yes, but that's not how it's presented. That might be how it's presented when you read it properly, when you're in the university, when you're sitting with the book. But for entry-level guys like myself coming into the space, or other people coming, that's not how it's presented. It's presented, here's the rule book, you know? Or you're not being materialistic enough.
Who's your favorite online personality who represents this school momish approach? Is there a robot getting murdered?
No, I'm sorry. Is it very loud? Can you hear that?
Oh, is it coming from you?
There's something in the drawer that turned on next to the bed.
No. It's I have headphones on because they're you know, all the houses here in Mexico are concrete.
They're penetrating something.
They're penetrating the shit out of something. So the unit next to me, the owners didn't know.
Did you tell them you've got a podcast? Stop.
I was gonna walk over there and be like, hey, I'm trying to do a show, but I was hoping you guys couldn't hear it with my microphone, but I guess.
Do you know who I am?
I'm chasing goddamn miles.
They built a room on the roof, and now they're building the entryway so they can walk up to the roof. So they have to cut through the 2 feet of thick concrete. So I will be taking myself.
Sounds like a robot was getting.
It actually is making my teeth hurt. It's very loud.
It must be extremely loud. Well, where were we before Jason's house got penetrated?
I know. I guess, and as you, and like that's, and Susan, I'm actually happy that you said that too, because I've had this like at least a similar experience of, like, as I'm getting into this, you know, oh, hey, this is what you're supposed to, you know, this is what you're supposed to read. Oh, you know, you don't know this, then, you know, you're not a true Marxist, or you're not a true socialist, or whatever the hell. But then, like, it's like, as I'm doing the reading, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, this is a lot more fluid. And also too, it's like, I mean, some of the he was just wrong on some shit, you know, like, I'm sorry, like the UK, the United States weren't the first, you know, proletariats to start changing the systems. So, like, if we could just start with one thing of saying, like, hey, maybe the guy's not perfect, and just saying, like, yeah, let's deal life more with more fluidity, because it's ever changing.
Well, what I wanted to ask you, Suzanne, is who is your favorite Twitter personality who you believe exemplifies the kind of teacher's pet approach to left-wing thought?
I love Benedict Cryptofash. I love to read his tweets, and I like reading his pieces. I love how schoolmama she is. It's hilarious. He to me is a comedy character, and if he is a he, maybe he's a she. If I'm feeling a bit bored, I'll go there just to see a sort of a kind of sitcom Marxist teacher. You didn't do this, me. He's just an entertainer for me. Some of it's been interesting, and I've learned from it. But if that, I don't, he wouldn't have me in his club. And the heavy policing that goes on there.
Well, he's currently, I believe, he is having a written exchange with Chris Catrone in the Platypus Review.
Well, I loved it. I love so much. In fact, that he was invited. They did a kind of, because he's so anonymous. I love it also that he's so anonymous. I love so mysterious. And he couldn't even go. He can't go and speak on it. Anyway, it's just so proper to me. It's entertainment. It's not advancing any politics.
It's simulacra.
It's simulacra. It's nitpicking, but it's simulacra of people who say they're materialists. That's what I love most. What I love is the discourse which says, which is like we're actually looking at the rules of history. You're just talking on Twitter, mate. You know what I mean? And it fills me with joy and delight. I love it. If I'm feeling bored, I'll pop in there and see. But as I say, it's not for any political reason that I'm going to see.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of this so-called left-wing media, is that people aren't. The function of left-wing media is supposed to be, or at least likes to present itself as doing political education, right? It's doing a serious job, and that serious job is educating the masses through the medium of YouTube, when in fact they're doing like an entertainment show.
Well, it's an entertainment show. It's definitely it's an entertainment show, and also what I've come to understand from which I never knew before I went into the spaces of left-wing online, is in fact that there's, or maybe I didn't, I had forgotten about it, there's supposedly a role of the intellectual. It's like, okay guys, so what you're going to do about this? Well, it's not for us to do anything. It's for the working class to do something. We're just giving the debate so that the working class can find our Twitter feeds and then enact a revolution. And I think that's great. What a fantastic job. You don't have to actually ever do anything. You're just a self-determined intellectual whose job is to state it most clearly and most materialistically on Twitter. And then other people can go off and do a revolution. I love it. I mean, that's fantastic.
It's pretty. I would say we at This Is Revolution embrace the fact that we are entertainment and we hope people are entertained. But we also like to, we like to get, real academics and stuff on the show. And I think that's really interesting, is that often when we have real academics talking about like important things, it doesn't get the most views, right? We had, for example, my colleague, Dr. Sarah Mallows, who works on birth control in China. Extremely interesting and important topic. People don't want to watch that show, right? We did a whole show on abortion when it wasn't hot, right?
Okay, but again, I would say to you, what do you care? Are you doing this so that you're going to get high numbers of views? Is that what you're doing?
If we were doing it for just the high numbers, obviously we wouldn't do those types of shows.
Well, Susanna, do you see now why I can't get any matches on Bumble?
Oh yeah.
I mean, who wants to match the guy that's, I got less than 10,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. I can't get legitimate Bumble matches from that. These women want 30,000 subscribers.
30, at least 30,000. Well, no, not the stalker. She was willing to do
the cost of Bumble matches is too damn high.
Look, Marcus has a blue check mark on Twitter. Pogs all over him. That's why he's got.
Come on, man.
A blue check mark. What are you not doing? Why are you not doing?
Because I have the Susanna Kleeman approach to fuck it. I'm going to do what I want to do. I piss everybody off. I have a few people that watch the show just to tell me that I love other people that I don't love. And then I go outside.
Jason,
well, what's better for you in the end? If Marcus is just towing the corporate line to keep his
towing the line.
And then in the end, in this, the tortoise and the hare is what I'm
Yes.
saying to you, Jason. It's the,
And you're the tortoise.
So it's the war, it's the battle and the war. Let's just see. If that's what you're doing, it's going to work out for you better in the end.
Look,
See, the thing that like
Marcus may be Killmonger, but Jason is T'Chunga or whatever his name
T'Challa.
is.
Look, I don't
T'Challa.
appreciate you calling me T'Chunky or T'Chunga.
But that's the thing is, I don't like at least from the because he controls. Jason controls. He's like the Wizard of Oz. He comes and goes.
Did you not? Jason chided me for trying to touch his controls because I also have controls, but I have to restrain myself because there can only be one daddy.
But that's the thing is that
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't.
changing the password tomorrow.
Jason is that you're probably like I think Jason. What the problem is you actually hold yourself back by fear, because left flank with our 60K and our blue check.
Blue check.
Ooh,
blue check.
We there's no plan. There's no there's no plan. There's no strategy. We find either things that we want to highlight or people that we want to talk shit to. You know, if I think of a meme, I make it, I throw it out there, and then that's it. You know, so I think what it is you've been hiding, you've been holding back what you actually want to say. That's why you don't have so many followers.
But what I'm interested in, we really equated followers with Jason's success on dating sites. Are they the same thing? Is that the same thing? Are you looking for? And therefore, then maybe the issue on the dating sites is you're not looking for one person. You're looking for lots of people.
Is that a problem? I thought variety was the spice of life, Susanna.
We're trying to be fluid.
I'm trying to be fluid.
I'm just old lady, so what do I know? But what if you're giving the impression on these dating sites that you're looking for lots of people? Maybe that's where you're going wrong. Is what I'm saying.
That could be it.
No, I give the impression that I'm a lonely man that lives in a country they don't want to visit.
Well, then why are you not on Mexican Tinder?
All the women here got married at 15, and they are going to stay in those horrible relationships until it's.
You know what, Jason? That's just not true, though, is it? Not everybody in the whole of Mexico got married when they were 15.
Not the ones on Mexican Tinder, anyway.
The ones on Mexican Tinder are really young. I have an age cutoff. If you are under 42 and don't have any kids or issues with relationships, I can't date you. You have to be someone that's going to ruin my life.
Here's a radical suggestion. Why don't you just throw away the dating apps and go and meet people in the real world?
Whoa.
Ooh, you are talking crazy talk here.
Hold on a second here.
That's not how it works nowadays.
Whoa. Hey. That is just so whoa.
Why not understand those things?
Nigga, what?
Yeah. Why not go and make hot eye contact with somebody in the real world?
Because when I do, either they have a significant other that is in a cartel, or
okay. I'm hearing a lot of the problem is Mexico from you, but maybe I'm wrong.
And also, he's not a libertarian, so he doesn't like young women.
But hey, you know what? You're going to go to the Sublation Media official launch party in New York. I've seen the post. So
Susanna, there's a term we have here in America, and I'll try to make it British. That party is going to look like a sausage pie.
A sausage pie.
A sausage pie. He said the trigger word.
It's sausage pie.
Sausage pie.
Okay, but you know something? I think you have been schooled too much by just being in small online spaces. When you go to New York, you don't just have to go straight from the airport or wherever into the bar, stay there, and go away again. It's also possible to walk on the streets. It's also possible to go to other bars where it's going to be less of a sausage party, and practice locking eyes with someone in the real world, right? It doesn't just.
I don't drink, so women automatically think I'm weird.
This is something that came up.
You can have a virgin to Shirley Temple, like a real man.
But
It's a
there's something that came up in your interview with Doug Lane was like the process in which people get into a relationship,
Mhm.
you know, and the relationship that I'm in right now, you know, like we went to school together, you know, there's a few other things that like we had in common. Oh, you start hanging out, you know, next thing you know, things happen, right? But that's not exactly what could happen, right? Like that's not how dating apps like really work. You know, it's like this kind of like it's already pre-curated, you know. So it's not like, oh, hey, I'm meeting someone at work or you know at
Yeah.
the
So to me, that's
grocery
why
store or the gym, you know.
that's why dating apps are totally fatal. And if I were to be looking for somebody now, there's no way in hell that I would do it on I'd go on a dating app. Maybe I just have to learn the hard way. Maybe that's just how it is. Blah blah. But I just don't believe it. To me, they are unsexy things. Dating apps. They are meat slabs. They are butchers' shops. The mystery, the joy of real world encounters, which is like, is that person looking at me? Is that person? Is it going to happen between us? Is there something between us? Are they even looking for someone? Are they not? That's the pleasure to me. You know, that's what I miss in being in you know, long-term relationship. Those things are not necessarily there anymore. That's what's exciting in the world. The excitement is, does that person like me? Who are they? Could I find out about them? Not. Hello, I am looking for somebody. Oh, it matches. La la. You know, it's not
Well,
sexy.
and here's my new problem. So I was downtown yesterday, and I had no idea that there's a huge motorcycle gang convention in my city. Not a motorcycle, but motorcycle gang. There's literally a very violent motorcycle gang, and apparently every year they come down, and so there is a good amount of women walking around. I'm not making in this part. I'm not making up, and I'd never seen this before because I don't really hang around motorcycle gangs. But there's people walking everywhere, which I'm like, oh fuck, I was trying to find something to eat. And I walked by this woman, and on the back, and she had a vest on too. So mostly it's all dudes, right? All the dudes with the where they're from and the name of the gang. And then there was a woman that walked by, and she had the name of the gang, and on the back of her jacket it said, "Property of Sleazy." And I was like, "Fuck, dude!" And then I saw Sleazy. I saw Sleazy next to her, right? And he was just not. He looked like what you would think Sleazy would look like.
And what did you think? This is so wrong. This poor woman has been brainwashed.
I thought that for a second, and I was like, "What is Sleazy doing that I'm not doing?" Because Sleazy's winning right now. I'm walking here alone, and everyone's looking at me like I'm the asshole.
I think Sleazy has got it really. It's like a good point to do the vest, because when you get someone, it's like someone gets your name tattooed on them, right? You can't get that. You can't bring that tattoo off the skin and then give it to the next property of Sleazy. With the vest, it's transferable.
I was this close to taking a picture of it because I couldn't believe it. I was like,
"Is that what you want? You want a branded woman?" And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because another thing.
Maybe not. Look, can she just have a T-shirt that says "I'm with him" with a finger pointing that way?
Jason Miles is a nice man.
Yeah,
maybe it's just a little.
He's cool. He's okay.
Do you say that?
You
you say, "I want a woman that will become my property"? Is that part of what you're
No, Jason Miles wants her to get a "This Is Revolution" branded T-shirt and tattoo.
I just want to
write your name here, right?
Something
else I would say about dating apps is you see, I think in the realm of sex and sex attraction, all the rules are gone. All the rules are gone. Everything that you might say nicely and politely on your Marxist YouTube channel doesn't. It means diddly when it comes to what happens behind the closed doors. And to me, that is a pleasure of life. But I think, again, with dating apps, we're presenting a public face. You might even see somebody that you know in real life on that dating app. Therefore, you're forced to present the most squeaky, acceptable version of yourself there in a place that's never going to give you, in the end, the true sex thrill that you want. Maybe I speak for myself here and I don't want to speak too much. But what I'm saying is, what we say about ourselves publicly has got nothing to do with actually what we want sexually.
Well, I will give you a really funny example. There is there's a well-known Atlantic writer who in DC includes the blurb from David Petraeus of his book on his book in his Tinder profile. He includes the blurb of his book in his Tinder profile. I've heard this on good authority, and he's also well known for like randomly DMing like hot women on Twitter to try and hook up with them as well. Like there's
gross.
That's pretty funny. There's another very well known MSNBC contributor who I know personally who was has used to write erotic fiction for multiple women unsolicited as well. So there's lots of different tactics. There's lots of different tactics out there. So maybe, Jason, you need to write a book. You need to put Doug Lane's blurb in your Tinder profile.
Like all the nice things people have ever said about me.
All the nice things, like Jason, like reviews of Jason Miles from his book, and then maybe get on that erotic fiction thing. You know, you could write Umar Johnson themed Snow Bunny erotic theme song.
Again, Gene, everything that you're saying is still about doing it in this world that we're talking to each other in here now.
True.
This virtual world. Everything, all your very helpful suggestions, excellent though they are, they're all still here in hyperspace, aren't they? Which I have to say is ultimately an unsexy place.
So what needs to happen is the graphic novel of Umar Johnson chasing
and the Paul Adventures.
But as the national tour, you go actually to bookstores
with a comic
in
book.
real life, right? In real life bookstores, and that's when you were having the engagement with people.
Yes. You know, that's what you need to do. That's a good idea. You need to go on a tour. You need to produce something that requires you to go on a tour and meet people in the real world. That's the best tip.
Yeah, you need to write the. I think we can sublate these ideas. We can have the erotic fiction aspect, but it can be a graphic novel, printed, and Jason could go on a book tour and meet people with it.
Only print.
That sounds like such
not
a
available
thing
online. That's the next step. Not available online.
So
why are you not taking This Is Revolution on tour? Why
is it shittier than going on Tinder? Is it any more degrading and shittier than going? I had a friend. I went to visit him.
Wait, can I tell? Wait, you went.
Go ahead.
Look, I will tell you a real story about my swiping life. So when I came to Mexico, I did add. This is real. Some shit I've said today, I'm joking, and this is real. This is a real story. I shit you not. And if you really know me, you know this is a real story. So I come here to Mexico, and I'm on Bumble. Was the app I was using, and I did have some mild dating success in the Central Coast, but it was very, very weird, and I won't get into that on the free show.
Really?
It's definitely I can't. Susanna, I will tell you, I will be in London at some point in my life, and I will tell you, I've been there before, and I'll go back, and we can sit down and have a strong
conversation. Like meeting people in the real world. You just established that. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, I was fucking around with that. I love people. I did music for years. These are all music because I toured and played music. So I love stage diving and all that fun shit. I love people. I hug strangers. So watch yourself, Susanna.
Okay, looking cool.
Okay, real story. So I come here to Mexico, and I'm not getting a lot of responses in Mexico, but there's a few responses I get from San Diego. I'm about 40 miles or so, an hour and change from the border. And I make a trip across the border and meet a nice woman. We hang out and do what people do when you're our age, in your 40s. And I invite her back to my place because I'm actually very proud of the house I have now. I have a bed.
What do people do in their 40s?
Backgammon.
Oh, I thought it was going to be something like taking their heart medicine together or something.
Somebody said complain about your kids and
complain about your kids. We're sorry, we've got that to look after.
Yeah, you complain about your kids and
drink cranberry juice.
Yeah, talk about who's got the coffee is great. We all just turned into old Jewish people from New York. So I invited her to. I was like, you have to see my apartment. I had this nice apartment. I have this Susanna, I have this beautiful view of the ocean. I live on top of this fucking mountain. Like everything about this apartment. Like I said, I have a bed frame. I keep the bathroom so clean because I'm so afraid that anyone will come in there and be like, this looks like a man's bathroom. It's like, no. This shit smells like cinnamon and sugar.
Not
right.
shit.
I'm on my best behavior. I'm holding in all farts.
Oh wow.
I'm even making sure I'm not even eating farty foods. So I don't have that uncomfortable like this when you're sitting there talking. Like, are you even listening to me? Like, I'm listening. I'm holding this spot. So she comes back. We have this great time, and we're sitting eating. I cook breakfast in the morning because I actually cooked professionally, so I can make a badass breakfast. I have this really cool kitchen, right? I flip the eggs, right? Not like a novice, right? There's no dehydration on those eggs, baby. How would you like them? Over medium? Got you. So everything's right. Everything is right. We have this nice time, and she looks at me, and I look at her, and I say, "Isn't this great? Like, we could, we want to do this more. We want to come back." She goes, "This is a beautiful apartment, and I think you're a wonderful person. I really do. I really like you. Like, you can come back to my house whenever my kids aren't home as much as you want. But I will never, ever come see you here again." Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She said she didn't want to drive across the border. She had worked with kids that actually lived on the other side, and one of them had gotten kidnapped, and he had stopped talking. And so she was like, "You're cool if you want to come across." And it takes me sometimes 3 hours just to get across.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really got to be some good stuff for a 3-hour drive. Like, we can't be watching just Netflix. But yeah. So I was kind of like, after that, I was like, I'm done with dating apps.
Damn. It's cold-blooded.
Yes, it is cold-blooded, but that is what they reduce things down to. Are you a suitable product? What they make you is something that is exchangeable with somebody else. Whereas our ideas about attraction in the past, which might have been wrong, and certainly were much idealistic, were about finding one person who was unexchangeable, right? And this seeing everybody in their boxes on these dating sites gives you the sense that they're, swap out this one for this one. That people, there's nothing unique about people. There's nothing that there's no more the feeling of like, I can't live without this person. Like, the connection that I have established with this person is so electric, and I'm just not getting that same connection with anybody else. Therefore, I can't swap it out with somebody else. We are being taught by these very commercial apps not to have that feeling, because it's just easier to deal with lots of people who kind of like, you'll do.
Sarah was telling me she read something about ghosting, that people do a lot more ghosting because of these apps, because there's so little. You don't need to make any like serious personal investment to get to know somebody. So like you said, it simplifies the process, but it takes out like a big part of like the emotional effort and emotional labor that it takes to get to know somebody. And like you say, Susanna, then everyone's exchangeable. So if you just ghost someone, it doesn't really matter, because there's always somebody else on the meat market.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a very efficient way for people to have sexual intercourse, but it's perhaps not a very efficient way for people to build meaningful relationships. And to go back to my critique of capitalism and how it spends our resources so much, and Dwayne Monroe talks about this, so much of our computing power and our investment capital goes into these dating apps. I mean, not just dating apps, but things like dating apps, which have a kind of, that just because they're possible and even enjoyable in some contexts, doesn't necessarily mean that they're particularly healthy for the development of our society. Some might argue that is a conservative point, but I think, you know,
Okay,
the
but
reduction
I would say,
dating.
who cares about the development of our society? Can we just put that to one side? What about our personal development as people who want to experience the heights of pleasure, ecstasy, joy, emotion in the world? If it's possible, Jean, to park the kind of whole society solution for one moment, I just think on an individual level, you know, it's a con. We're being done. We're being done. You know, the denial, the not looking anymore for people that we can have an absolutely powerful interaction with, even though that comes at the cost of perhaps heartbreak, pain, humiliation, them not being the person that you think they are. Because I think also a big attraction of these dating apps is safety, security. You kind of know that you're just exchanging people and it's not very meaningful, and it's more about movies or the look of the person, will they fit in with your life and friends. But it also is a measure of self-preservation, because it means you'll never be hurt, you know. And the price of making yourself vulnerable, of actually having an authentically deep connection with somebody else, is you probably will end up hurt or disappointed down the way. But you know, so anyway.
So it swings around. But, you know, yes, I agree with that. But I think on a societal level, that also leads to like really alienated and cynical people. And
It does.
if in our most personal of interactions with other human beings, we're reducing it to this kind of like very mechanistic, machine-driven meat market, we're going to be sad people, right? I don't think it's going to make people happy. I remember talking to my friend. I went to visit my friend in Massachusetts. He was spending time in Cambridge at Harvard, and he was killing it on the apps. Swiping. He had different chicks every night. And then I just sat with him one night and I was like, I'm going to be honest, mate. Like, this looks freaking depressing. He's like, you know what? He's like, a lot of my friends who are in relationships are like, oh, it must be cool with all those apps. But you know what? It is kind of really depressing, because you get like rejected, and you might meet someone that you like, but they ghost you, and then you ghost someone and you feel bad. And it all makes you sad. So we end up with a kind of like, all this energy and resources and money and computing power being poured into a technology that, instead of enhancing the human experience, both as individuals and as a society, ends up having a profoundly negative effect on a society and making us miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Jason's crying now.
Well, yeah, because I'm going to go, after this show is over in a few minutes, I'm going to go have breakfast by myself and cry a little bit as I look at the ocean and think to myself, why is Sleazy's property not here with me to enjoy this?
Yeah, you're going to be deleting all of the dating apps, playing Milli Vanilli. It's a tragedy for me to see.
And you stand
the dream is over. But no, that's, I don't know. That's some real shit. And I mean, that's the thing too, is like, I mean, I don't know, like, I feel like it's an aspect of not just dating apps, but it's like dating apps can just, you know, like add different aspects to it, because like, it's just not, it sucks. It sucks trying to juggle people. You know, like it's not like an easy fucking thing, and then you end up hurting people in the process, and you end up hurt. You know, it's like it's a cycle where it's like, no, you do this, right? Getting chicks makes you happy, bro. So if you get chicks, you're happy. But it's like, no, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2.
It's non-stop, because there's always new people who are going to have joined. You're going out on a date with this, but someone else might be there. They might be better, since everyone's kind of exchangeable. There might be, okay, I'm now in a relationship, but now someone else. I mean, you know, it's again, talking of Baudrillard, he says our society is one like in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Is that what it's called? You know, in Fantasia, you know, that section of the Disney.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice, yeah.
Yeah, so where more and more stuff is coming out the cauldron, he says that's what our very visual, hyperreal culture is. There's always more. There's more people. There's more stuff we could be getting all the time. More. There's never. How can you ever be satisfied in that? How can you say, yes, I definitely made the right choice with this person that I bought from the dating app shop? Because there's 10,000 other ones that are coming out there.
So true. It's like me and my Games Workshop miniatures. In the past, I used to have to save up my. I used to have to save up my pocket money, and I would look at my Chaos Dwarf Sorcerer on Alamuus, and I'd go, I'm going to save up my £20 and get my Chaos Dwarf. Now, I could just go online, and I can just order box after box of miniatures in my house until my Amazon credit card is totally.
And also, the other thing is, you don't even need to buy it. You can just look at pictures of it, and in the end,
I will admit today I spent like a good hour looking at oogling knockoff Space Marines online and fantasizing about painting them.
But there you go. You don't even need to tell anybody. And then
I just watched the painting tutorial. I just watched Duncan Rhodes paint a miniature.
Gene,
with my son.
Just like just wood.
Gene, I want you to know that I love you, and being able to know you as a friend has been great. I think you're incredibly intelligent, wildly funny. I've never had more of a desire to stick someone's head into a toilet, other than after that sentence you just said. But it's good that you found joy. It's good that you found joy.
But it was sad. I did not get the tactile. This is one of the issues why I didn't get the tactile experience of touching a fresh meat and cutting it out of the screw, getting the glue and slowly sticking the arms on the Space Marine. Right? I just watched Duncan Rhodes do it.
You found joy and passion. Don't listen to these laughing fools. You have found a joy and passion.
True.
That's given you absolute joy and ecstasy in life. Congratulations. That we should all be so lucky as to find such a lovely and fulfilling life.
Guys, you go. You don't have you don't have your miniatures, do you?
No. And I feel like though that's a section of the graphic novel for Jason should be, Gene with his miniatures. Because that type of love story doesn't come around very often.
And I think also the old advice back to Jason and his dating is find a hobby, go to the hobbyists events, and you'll find people who share your hobby and that you have a nice time with. See, if
take up crochet.
I have like the shittiest hobbies though, Susanna.
We'll have get some better hobbies. I saw a man.
You play music.
I do. That's like the thing I do. I play music.
Okay.
That's
okay. So
it's not like what people think. It's not the 80s, man.
Yeah, but like music historically, pretty decent hobby.
You could join an orchestra. How about that, Jason?
You play really stringed instruments. It's an easy transition.
Sort of Susanna's like trying to get me to do the worst shit ever. You can join a chess club, Jason, and see more dudes.
What are you talking about? Orchestra though is orchestra.
You can do some yoga. You can do, I don't know, stuff.
Okay.
You need to find a very niche hobby like Gene has done, and from that all pleasure will come. That's what I think.
I really wish that I could have like a camera on me so you could see my daily thing when I walk downtown, especially when I go down there today to get food. I really wish you could see, because it is, someone said drum circles. Jesus Christ.
Learning Spanish? That's a hobby.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and when I Spanish at women, I think I'm saying the wrong thing sometimes.
But you shouldn't, Susanna.
I shouldn't have learned all my Spanish from hood movies.
Yeah.
I think learning Spanish and practicing it in the park with strangers is going to work out well for you.
I've been First of all, I've been practicing it with the laundry people.
Good.
You need to be just find a bench, play the guitar, and then try out your Spanish.
Try out Spanish. Doing a tour of doing This Is Revolution live. Why are you not doing that? COVID, I know, but
we're gonna do This Is Revolution live soon.
When we get popular enough and we could do This Is Revolution live show London, Susanna has to be our guest, our live guest.
Well, go on. I'm sure you have many live guests to choose from.
No. Susanna would be a good live. I think I think you missed your calling as a podcaster. I think you should do a regular advice podcast, life
Yeah.
advice,
Yeah.
life lessons with Susie.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. I don't know if Phil is my natural me. And also, there's only so much time in the day, right? And yeah, but thanks for
But
your.
if you have amphetamines, there's more.
Just amphetamines and miniatures for Jean.
Yeah.
No, and I'll say this though, is like I feel like those like some of the things you portray.
Mating for Marxist. That's a good name of your podcast.
It's kind of I think important to get out of the doomer cycle, because in some aspects it's like just don't you shouldn't give a shit. Like I think don't sweat the small stuff. Right? Is
Mhm.
just a good mantra. But then also, yeah, you just even really rethinking, because in something that you said, kind of in a retort to Gina, was saying, who cares about society, on some level, right? But like some things can just be for us, and we should be concerned how these things make us feel, and it's okay to be self-indulgent, and especially things that's like how many billions of like billions of barrels of oil I can collect. Like you're gotta, but
yeah, and it's okay to be freaky also. That's the other thing.
Yeah, right. It's in like we're fucking with Gene, but like I hope we're joking when it comes to like your miniatures. Like do whatever you want, bro. Like we love you.
Don't you be worried, Gene.
Yeah, but that's not only that it's okay, but like you also there's no winning there. I think there's like
effectively what you're doing in the end is just turning yourself into a robot, isn't it? Going to cut off anything that might cause offense to anybody. You're going to sit there like that. End of your life. You should, it's over then for you.
That's why Star Wars movies suck now, because when they make those big Star Wars movies, they don't want to offend anybody. But if you want to do good art and do good entertainment, you need to offend people, or you need to risk. You need to risk offense. You need to take risks, and people don't want to take risks. That's why we have to watch endless freaking Marvel movies.
Yes.
Wow.
The future of the universe.
No.
The future is just endless Marvel movies.
Yes and no. Of course, the irony is it's only by taking risks that you can really have big success, like the first Star Wars film, But
but then it gets co-opted and becomes just.
Okay, so it gets co-opted. So it gets
becomes wait. I'm going to use the word. It becomes a simulacra of a Star Wars movie.
Ooh.
It's not a Star Wars movie, but it's like a fake Star Wars movie. Like all the new Star Wars movies, the new ones. Like I will tell you this: people hate the 90s George Lucas movies, and they were bad movies, but they were honest movies, right? Mm-hmm. They had a vision, right?
I said this the other day. Yeah.
They had a vision. Maybe someone should have gone in and said, George, I kind of need to edit this script a little bit.
Isn't that literally what I said the other day?
Well, yeah.
I said this all the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but they were honest movies. It was a story about something. It was about the fall of democracy, the rise of fascism, and I totally think Count Dooku should have been a good guy, but they were honest movies. Yeah, but the new ones were just literally.
Do you know something? It's not even, Gene, I disagree with you. I don't think it's because they were about the fight for democracy. I think it's because there was genuine freaky chemistry between the actors, who were people with authentic, weird charisma. And I think that Harrison Ford is obviously the best looking man in the world once. And him with Prince, there was stuff going on there of a schlonky nature that wasn't a rigorously done for this, yes, I am noble, oh, you are bad. There was
no, I agree. No, I'm talking though about like the ones that Lucas did in the 90s that everyone always slags off. So the originals people love because they were, like you said, you had good actors with freaky chemistry and a fun story, and it was enjoyable, right? It was like Dune, but without all the like weird libertarian stuff, but and heart plugs. But the 90s one, it was a story, it was a vision, it was George Lucas's passion project. But when they came back and made those movies, like Disney made like a corporate movie, they brought in J.J. Abrams. It was like there was no vision or anything. It was a simulacra because it had all the things and the licensing of Star Wars, but it didn't have any essence or spirit of it. There was no
Yeah.
vision for anything.
Anything ever done by market research or because this worked, therefore I'm going to do this on the numbers. None of that ever. It might make money for you, but none of it ever works. The only stuff that works is the freaky stuff, which also often fails. But the freaky stuff that works is the gold spot, right?
That's why Showgirls is a good movie, even though people hate it.
Showgirls is a great movie. I love Showgirls. That's a fantastic movie. I want to see it again.
Well, there's your watching for this evening.
No, actually, you know what I'm watching?
Yeah.
I'm watching American Gigolo. Is what I'm watching. I'm watching the old version of it. It's really good.
Do you know what I thought?
They remade it?
It's about to be a series. Yeah, it's about to launch in the next month or so. There's about to be a new. It's one of the cable. It could
Is
be
it going to be black?
I don't know.
That's the thing. They like remake it, but black.
I don't know. I am not sure.
Would you watch it if it was black?
But can I say Richard Gere is amazing in it? It's really good, and I've never seen him good anyway.
It was Denzel Washington.
Would you watch it if it was Denzel?
so.
It was Michael B. Jordan. It was Michael B.
What
Jordan.
about if it was Idris Elba?
It was Idris Elba. Would you watch it?
Of course I would watch it. Of course I would.
Just chocolatey ass.
They're just trying to find out who your favorite black man is.
Just chocolate ass. Just chocolate.
They are my current favorite black men. Do they not know?
There you go.
Thank you. I'm gonna put that in my Tinder profile now. Susanna Kleeman's
Endorsed-
favorite black man.
endorsed by
His favorite
novelist,
chocolate
by
man.
novelist Susanna Kleeman.
Yes.
No, but I got my book down.
Favorite
Especially, look,
black man.
this is coming to an end. I've got to put my book up here. This is my book. You should buy it. It's got a lot of stuff about men and women in it. May I tell you? It's
And it's a novel.
yes, my novel. My novel.
It's the first novel on Zero.
Yeah. But it's not the first novel on Zero, but it is my novel that Zero published. It's good. If I say something.
Yeah, so people need to get on that and buy Susanna's.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to show off my book cover. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna, for hanging out with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show. Marcus, thank you once again. Jean Bajlan, thank you oh so much. Zal, I love you like a play cousin. Tuesday, we will be back. We'll be talking about shootings.
Oh,
My
that's so
landlord
sad.
is waving to me. She's like, "Hey, well, hi." So I'm gonna go talk to my landlord. She's actually a really nice woman.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you, Susanna. Thank you so much. We're gonna go off air, and then we're gonna actually talk for real for like 5 minutes before you hang up.
Okay.
So be ready to laugh really hard. Thank you guys, and we are out.
Did you have fun, Susie?
Yeah, that went off in all sorts of different directions, but that was very fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a natural podcast talent.
What does that mean? I can talk any old stuff for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I had to sign my new rental agreement.
The one for it's Marcus who's having the rent.
Yeah. Did they raise your rent?
No,
Or is it
not at
still?
all. Why would she
I
do
think
that?
your rent is like what I like the raise in my rent.
My rent's $900 a month.
But a worse time on Tinder. But Marcus, you don't need to be on Tinder. So.
No, I don't.
Well, Marcus has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Wait,
Marcus is winning.
Did you end the stream, Gene?